Welcome to Comic Book Corner. I'm Dan Dilatori. Thanks for joining us this evening. One of the reasons why we love comic books is it reminds us of our childhood, but there are many other things that spark that same idea. And one is sports, in my particular case, baseball. I have the sad news to report. We lost one of the giants in the broadcasting business for baseball, the late, great Vin Scully. We lost him earlier this month. Vin Scully was someone that when you turned on, if I was lucky enough to get his broadcast, because I lived in the Bay Area, I remember my brother and I would turn the old AM radio back in the day and you get the Dodgers broadcast. And when you heard Vin Scully, you knew it was time for Dodgers baseball. Vin Scully was beyond a legend. He was probably the one of the best, if not the best baseball broadcasters in all of baseball history. He will be sorely missed. He was 94 years old. And we wish him and his family all the best. We respectfully move on to our shout out of the night. And I saw this gentleman in our chat. In chat, I hope he's still there. And it's Drew from Como Comics. Drew, I've never met the man, but we've become friends on IG. I've heard him on so many shows. He is literally a walking encyclopedia of comic books. He's just a very, very pleasant man, very, very knowledgeable. Sub up to his channel, Como Comics, but more importantly, sub up to his comic store, ComoComicsBooks.com. He's got great taste in comics. This man knows his stuff, and I would definitely support him, his channel, and his online store. Let's move into a follow-up from the segment we had last episode, and that was we talked about there's no real arbiter regarding comic books, and one of the most trusted entities is Overstreet. And I just want to share something that I had found here. I don't know if Ian, can you blow that up? That is page 686 from 2021's Overstreet Price Guide, and what it says here for Oscar Comics, a series that I've absolutely fallen in love with. It says number 26, which I have. Well, pardon me. I have two number 3s, but it says here the same as number 3, except for 26 was printed over in black ink. Number 3 on cover below the overprint. A little confusing, but let's show you the image of what I found. I actually have found one of these by accident, and it is an Oscar Comics. To the left is an actual number 3, and to the right, let's get the other picture, Ian, with the two of them. Do we send another one? Did I have another picture of that? Because what Overstreet said is that the number 26 is blacked out. You can see under the O to the one to the far right. It's very, very dark green. But in the picture that I have, which isn't coming up right now, is the abbreviation for the month of August, AUG dot. Now, Overstreet says number 26 should be there, and that's wrong. Now, what I don't understand is either Overstreet got this wrong, or there are books out there still in the wild. Now, again, this is a book from 1948, so these are very difficult to find. I personally have 3 of them. So were there books printed with 26 underneath, or were there some like the one I have with the abbreviation for the month of August? Now, this is sort of like an amateur astronomer finding a little asteroid or something that no one else has noticed, and you let the authorities know, and you found something that no one else has seen. This is a bit of a mystery, and if anybody knows anything about this particular book, or anyone who has any reference of Golden Age, I'd love to have a conversation with this person, because it's one of those things that's bothered me. But anyway, that's what I want to show you, and we certainly need an arbiter for all things comic history related. And again, Overstreet is currently my favorite choice to fill that role. Let's move on to the DC universe. As many people have heard, about a month ago, DC, with the new CEO, his name is David Zaslav. And he made an extremely unusual and rare decision to cancel a movie that was almost completed, and that was the Batgirl movie. Batgirl would have starred Leslie Grace, and this would have been a huge role for her. Now, Zaslav did cancel the Flash movie because the actor has been having, Ezra Miller's been having nothing but personal problems. So that is somewhat understandable, but he seems to at least be taking the right steps in the right direction. I am rooting for this young man. I hope his movie does come back, because he has a lot to offer. But as far as the Batgirl movie, that was a very, very different and shock to Hollywood collectively. The movie was almost over, and the decision was made from Zaslav that They don't have the budget to produce it anymore. That's another story that just came out a few days ago. But the way they're handling this is very, very unusual. They even locked out. These are the two directors, and I would butcher their names. Well, I'm not going to try to pronounce their names. So they were locked out of their own movie. They tried to access it from their own computers, couldn't. They couldn't, and so apparently the thing is that Zaslav is in on this money saving crunch for DC. Apparently, they're having financial problems, and if this movie goes out, they would have to pay taxes on it. So they want to refrain from this going to the public. But I wanted to look at this from a few different perspectives. One, Zaslav inherits DC, which has a whole variety of difficulties. So we would understand that. But let's play devil's advocate. If you're in his position, and you are, let's say, or better yet, you're at the reins of Marvel. You're Kevin Feige, and you see a Marvel movie that you look at and you see is absolutely horrible. Would you go to the drastic measure of removing that movie? There are two that come to mind, actually. The Fantastic Four movie in 2015, which starred Miles Teller. He was only 28 years old, playing someone who was supposed to be at least in his mid-40s, Reed Richards. The movie was awful. The script was awful. That movie never should have seen the light of day. The other movie I would say would be, Hulk 1 was pretty bad with Ang Lee. And Iron Man 3, I wouldn't have scrapped it, but I would have completely redone the second half of that movie. But those are very drastic and rare actions to take. Zaslav, by canning the entire thing, what I would have done, because he alienated Leslie Grace, a beautiful young actress who's up and coming, because think about it from her perspective. She lands this role. The first thing she's going to do is tell her friends, her family. She works for about a year or so to produce this movie, and at the very last minute, this gentleman says, "You know what? We're scrapping it. It doesn't meet our standards." That's beyond burning bridges. So it's sort of a wait and see approach with what he's going to do since he's taking the reins. I think he's set himself up for very, very high standards. I mean, if 2 or 3 years down the road, DC starts producing outstanding movies, then maybe we'll give some forgiveness to the way he handled or perhaps mishandled the scrapping of the Batgirl movie. But many of us were looking forward to it, myself included. So it's a wait and see. Now, I'm not rooting against DC. I never have. Many of us are waiting for them to finally gain some traction because of all the talent they simply have on their side. Now, the comic kingpins and my friend Newbie are pushing this rumor that maybe more than a rumor, and that is The Rock, who is playing Black Adam, has insisted that Henry Cavill make a cameo appearance towards the end of his movie. That would be an outstanding and exceptional idea, something that's out of the box and something that would excite the DC universe. If that's the mindset that Zaslav is having, fine, but it's still a wait and see thing with this gentleman. I think I'm going to keep him on a short leash. If it doesn't turn around in a few years, I think Hoodrat is right that the company should just go under, or someone should simply buy them and start over from scratch. But we will wait and see in the upcoming years. Let's move on to a organization that does have their act together, and that's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, let's talk about the She-Hulk series. And normally what I would not do would be to give spoiler alerts, but this is a long series. I think it's 9 episodes in total, and I don't want to wait almost 3 months before we finally do the review. I think we should start looking at this week by week. Let's start with the first episode. The She-Hulk character, played brilliantly by Tatiana Maslany, a beautiful actress, and she's very, very humorous with the female part of being a superhero. And one of the things that I love about this, and I'm hoping that by this portrayal and this whole series, it brings more female characters into the comic book world, because again, it's still mostly male dominated. I love this character. I think she's off to a great start with a better origin than she had in She-Hulk 1, which I'm a proud owner of. But she deals with her cousin Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is very fearful because of the years of frustration that he had to deal with the Hulk persona. And he wants obviously nothing but the best for his cousin, who suddenly inherits this power and does his best to try and educate her. Well, what he doesn't realize was that she doesn't have the same emotional issues or psychological issues that he has, and basically zips through the little trick, test that he has for her, and basically nails it and wants to go ahead and move on. She basically crushes this whole thing, and she's so cute and adorable in the entire series. We wish her well, and I think the series got off to a great start. But episode 2 is where the action really starts here, because what happens is the She-Hulk character becomes a lawyer. She has to, and her first case with this new firm that she's working for is to trying to defend the Abomination character. And he was played. This is Tim Roth, who reprises his role from Hulk 2. Now Roth, he's aged a bit here, but this struck me as an old collector, and especially as a Silver and Bronze Age aficionado. I think this opens the doors in many, many different ways here. And I think there is nothing but good things ahead of us, starting with this series. I think this is a great introduction to Phase 5, if that's where we're at right now, because Phase 4 of the MCU is a bit lackluster. I am curious as to why Emil Blonsky is being tutored or taken away by Wong, the current Sorcerer Supreme, played by Benedict Wong. So there's a lot of questions I'm assuming will be answered in the next episode, which airs this week here. This, by the way, the Abomination here is a far better cry than he was in the Hulk movie, Hulk 2. I think the Abomination was horrid compared to the original Abomination, drawn originally by Gil Kane in Tales to Astonish 90 and 91, which that's by far my favorite. There he is here. That's the Abomination that I remember. And I think Gil Kane remains as one of the most underappreciated artists of the day. Sal Buscema and Herb Trimpe also had a very, very liking and likeness of him when he drew that particular character. But that is a dynamite character, by far one of the most powerful villains in all of Marvel. So to bring him back in this form is something I, as a Hulk fan, have been waiting for a long, long time. We also know that the Wrecking Crew will be, look how, I mean, he literally manhandled the Hulk in that first issue. I mean, it was really eye-opening. This is, again, back in, I believe 1968. But there's so much to look forward to in this series. We've got the Wrecking Crew on the way. We've got Daredevil apparently making an appearance at some point, and who knows what sort of surprises we have. But this here with there's an old adage in Hollywood, and that is sex sells. The She-Hulk is a very sexy character. And they, again, couldn't have picked a better actress than Tatiana Maslany to portray her. Now you compare that to the Captain Marvel character, that's Brie Larson. She didn't bring that sex appeal or that sort of persona. So again, I have high hopes for this, but this series is off to a great, great start. So with that in mind, let's go to our picks of the week, Ian. And so let's start. And again, this is the Wong character tutoring the Abomination. I can't even imagine what he's doing or why he's interacting this character. I think, again, my imagination is running wild because I think they're really onto something. I think this is a direction that the MCU should stay on, because this will reactivate interest from people that may have taken a break in season 4. So I'm sorry, Ian, let's go to our picks of the week. And let's start right here with the She-Hulk theme, if we may. She-Hulk was so popular. I'm sort of seeing a dovetailing of what's going on in the MCU to what I saw in the Marvel Bronze, Silver, and Copper Age. When She-Hulk first appeared in 1979 or 1980, she started a bit rough as the Savage She-Hulk, but then she became the more sexy, attractive character, and she was all over the place. A long mainstay in the Avengers. And I bring this up here. This is, I forgot the issue here. This is later in the Avengers. Let me get my notes here. What I've got here now is my computer, so I can follow along with Ian, so I don't have to squint and look at the pictures that I gave him. Okay, this is Avengers 274. Now, this is multifaceted. 1, She-Hulk appears in this issue here. But 2, in the center of that is Hercules fighting a number of characters, including the Wrecking Crew and Tiger Shark. Now, we just came out of the Thor: Love and Thunder movie. We know Hercules is out in the MCU, and so is Hercules. This could be sort of a multiple key, if you will, with this entire story run here. That coupled with Avengers, what's that other one here? What is that, 286? The entire run, I think she was in for about 30 or 40 episodes, but I would get this run, go to 284 and then 285 when they have to deal with Zeus. I think there could be a crossover, not in this series, but this will be later on. Now, to the right is, that is Hulk 137. Now, also in this series, we see Bruce Banner being taken away out into space, which everyone knows is a prelude to World War Hulk. But that's not the first time the Hulk was in space. This Silver Age key here is Hulk 137. He's taken away. This is a Roy Thomas story. It's an homage to the Jules Verne classic story. And who appears in this? The Abomination. Now, I don't think the Abomination may appear here, but then again, with Wong taking him magically from place to place, he may show up. But it's just a great issue to have. So these are issues that are, again, they're on the dip. I'd rather get them I would suggest you get them while you can. If that issue starts in 136, by the way, as he's taken away into space, and concludes in 137. Next, we have that's the Zeus issue here, because what happens during the Avengers run is that literally Hercules is beaten senseless, and Zeus, looking for his son, comes to find him. Or no, pardon me, the Avengers go to seek help from Zeus, and Zeus is outraged by what has happened. And so there's a battle with Zeus, and it's a really, really interesting dynamic between the Avengers and what happens with Zeus. Anyway, I won't spoil any more. It's certainly worth the read, and get these. I think they are going to move in price as She-Hulk continues to go, because she's not going to go anywhere. I think this is a very, very long-lasting character. Let's move on to. This is a little more of a pricey book. To the left is the first cover appearance of the Abomination. Again, drew by Gil Kane, an exceptional artist. A little more pricey, but I would get your hands on these Silver Age books sooner than later. To the right is Titania, pardon me, teams up. I guess they have a relationship with the Absorbing Man, one of my favorite villains. And this is a recovering Zeus in a hospital bed. These Secret Wars spillovers, I think, are going to be expanded in the She-Hulk series. And this is another one that's extremely reasonable to get. And I would begin the hunt with this right away. The next episodes we have, or next issues we have, rather, are these. This is two early appearances of the Savage She-Hulk. She appears in Marvel 2-in-1 88. And that is Marvel Team Up 107. Those are great fun issues, especially when She-Hulk teams up with the Thing. The Thing, they call him the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing for a reason. He's a gentle giant, and he's very much a gentleman when it comes to ladies. And I think She-Hulk is a little more than flirtatious with him, and Bashful Benjamin, doesn't know how to handle it. It's always a fun story. And with that red cover, by the way, a little difficult. If actually the black cover too to the team up, they're difficult to get in high grade. If I found a 9.8, I'd grab one immediately. Next, we have more I believe more Hulk stories here. Now, since they're bringing back the Hulk, which is something I, again, as a Hulk fan, have been waiting for the longest time in, I would get your hands on some of these older Hulks. That to the right is obviously the first appearance of the Abomination. That's Tales to Astonish number 90. But one character that I think is not that far behind is Doc Samson, and that's his first appearance in Incredible Hulk 141. Not that expensive of a book, and I think we could have had that as a freezer book, because again, the Hulk has been dormant, and all the Hulk personas, villains, and associates that he had have been dormant. But now that I think the MCU is finally working out some deal with the Hulk, all the storyline will be coming back. And I guess I should have threw in the first appearance of the Leader. That would be the logical choice as the Hulk's arch enemy. Everyone, in the next episode, I think we're going to continue on this, because again, the She-Hulk story is something that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is spot on with, and whatever else comes up, because we're not that far from the next announcements from Kevin Feige and company. I think they're finally on the right track. We suffered through Phase 4, which wasn't a bad phase, but again, I think they're pausing and gearing up for some very, very big and important things. And these come out, we'll talk about them as they appear. Before I let you go, in the next episode, we will have my very good friend Phil Cowan, who's just beginning comic book collecting, and we can get his very interesting take on what someone who's just now putting his toe into the water, what he thinks and feels about the MCU, comic collecting in general, and to get a perspective on someone that is just beginning the hobby. Everyone, thanks for joining. For the Ian Hoodrat Network, I'm Dan De La Torre, and this is Comic Book Corner.